lazy recently, well, somehow, so I haven't uploaded any videos for a long time. And I'm thinking about start a new YouTube channel that will be more focused on the career development. But for that one, on the Teams, on the chat window, it's a combination of career and my personal life. So no need to follow that. You can definitely like connect with me on LinkedIn. We can get in touch there. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Yeah, sorry if I've shared it there in the chat with your permission. It's on the slides.
No worries at all. It's my fault actually, because at the beginning when you ask for the introduction, I feel like okay, I can use that YouTube channel, but nowadays I feel like
Yeah.
I like it. It's quirky.
Okay, it's too late to take it back.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's just go to the third talk. Let me go to my Chrome. Okay, so not this one. Not this one, this one. Okay, so yeah, so our next speaker is Nihet. I apologize first if I pronounce your name wrong. So her topic is leverage your graduate school training. So Dr. Pockrell is the solutions architect at Amazon Web Services in Seattle, USA. She works with high-performance computing customers to help them build solutions on AWS. She's very passionate about improving diversity in STEM. She is one of the founding members and a co-advisor at Nepal Women in Computing. She also shared her LinkedIn here, and I will post it in the chat later. Her talk abstract is, how often do you hear graduate students say, my research is not relevant to the industry? Join me to learn how I put my best foot forward right after my PhD in chemistry with no prior industry experience. In this talk, I will discuss how to leverage the graduate school experience the best possible way. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you. Are you going to share my presentation?
Oh, do you want me to share it?
If you could, that'd be great.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I can definitely do that. I'll share my screen again to my Chrome tab. And this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Sophie, for providing this opportunity. I'm very excited to be here. Yuan and Arushi, I could not agree more with you. Yuan, one thing you said that I just thought about is use challenges as opportunities. When Sophie first reached out to me to give a talk here, I said, but I'm not a data scientist. That was really my first thought. But then I changed it and I said, well, I could use this as an opportunity to talk about what a solutions architect does, right? So that is one thing that comes with practice. I am learning. We all are in the very, very beginning of our professional career, but I agree to what you both said. Thank you for saying all the good things. I'll probably be repeating most of what you said, but let's go ahead. Sophie, next slide, please. Yeah, so before we get into the details of the presentation, like all the other speakers, I wanted to introduce myself and tell you what my background is and how did I get here. My name is Nihit Pokhrel. I got my BA, Bachelor's of Arts in Chemistry and Math in 2014. So right after undergrad, I knew I wanted to do something that has equations, but solve problems related to life science, right? So that was my mentality. I knew how to code a little bit. So during undergrad, I thought that was cool. I'm going to go to grad school and get a PhD in computational chemistry is what I thought. And that's exactly what I did. And I got my PhD in chemistry from University of Washington in 2019. So my academic research is very similar to what Arushi had said earlier. So I was also running big simulations, doing analysis and figuring out what protein does in the body and where protein moves. So that kind of simulation, if you're not aware, is also called high performance computing simulations. And that is really what I do at Amazon right now. So my official title is Solutions Architect, and I am at Amazon Web Services. I want to talk about Solutions Architect a little bit. This might be a new title for some of us. So what a solutions architect really does is figure out, Amazon has 500 different, 500 probably is an exaggeration, 285, some number of different services, and solutions architect help customers or software vendors figure out what kind of resources to use to make a platform. For example, in chemistry space, there's a company called OpenEye Scientific, which actually lets you run molecular dynamic simulation. But what I do is work with OpenEye Scientific to help them build their software. So end users, their customers are what I was in grad school, right? So that is my background going into this role. And it's a very interesting title. Like Arishi said, maybe even worse than what Arishi said, I did not know this is what I wanted to do up until the very end of my PhD. I was pretty much applying everywhere, and I thought, okay, we'll see what kind of roles I end up getting, and then we will decide what we wanted to do. So that was where I was in 2019 and had not used Amazon Web Services at all. Luckily, I'll tell you my story in a couple of slides. I was able to land a job at Amazon Web Services telling people how to do something that I had never done before. Sophie, next slide, please. Right, okay. So this is my story, and I'm very early on, so others might have different opinion about this. So I'll tell you what I think is the right thing to do, figure out what works for you and what does not work for you. The very first thing is to network, and I have an exclamation mark there because in grad school, we are not taught how to network. You network with your collaborators, your teammates, and your PI. Your PI, whatever they say is the holy grail, and you say, okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what it should be. You don't realize the importance of talking to others, getting other ideas, and listening to folks, not just in your field. When I was applying for jobs, I actually started talking to everybody completely out of my field, sometimes not doing chemistry at all. Some of them were doing data science, some were doing software development engineering, program manager, product manager, really every role in tech that exists. So I started talking to everybody, and I made a big list of the job roles that existed. And trust me, I probably knew 10 of those roles. Everything else was new. There were so many roles that I had no idea about. I made a big list of the roles, and then I took a step back, and then I divided those roles into what I call subject matter expertise roles versus others. And in subject matter, it was direct chemist roles, chemist or data scientist, molecular data scientist kinds of role. Those were under my expertise, and these other ones like solutions architect, program manager, technical writer, technology evangelist, like all these different titles that I had no idea about, but then I learned that I could actually leverage my grad school expertise there because they were looking for someone who could talk. They were looking for someone who could code a little bit, who was very passionate about mentorship and helping others, right? So those transferable skills that we don't really pay attention to in grad school actually are what gets you the job. So I made a list, and then I looked at two very different aspects of all these roles. I was looking at chemistry jobs, and I thought, okay, this feels comfortable, but is this where I want to go? Or do I want to take up a challenge? And then because of the imposter that grad school makes us, I was not able to decide. So I said, all right, I don't need to decide right away. Let's see what I get. I'll just take what I get, is what I had in my head when I first started. And then after I figured out for this role, especially for solutions architect, what I did was I cold stalked a lot of people on LinkedIn and said, okay, whose title has solutions architect and who has some higher education background, right? Not just a traditional IT background, but someone who's done something differently. And I reached out to them saying, I just want to know what is that you do, because I was a little hesitant about getting in a role that I had not, I do not know anybody who is a solutions architect in really any company before me. So I said, okay, I need to learn more. I need to understand what is that you do. And also I need to be honest with you and tell you that I do not know anything about AWS. I have heard about S3 and EC2. That's probably not going to land me the job, but here's where I am, right? So that I was very clear in that. But then what I was able to do is, like Yuan said, make them believe that I can learn, right? So I started talking their language a little bit. I started making parallels between AWS and what we had in our university. So we had a supercomputer. So although I was not speaking AWS language, I said, yeah, we have a supercomputer, we have CPUs and we have GPUs. The simulations I run are compute bound. So, I started using more technology and letting the science go. For example, I was not saying, oh, my lipids don't move a nanometer in 10 seconds. I cared about that a lot, but I figured that my audience does not care about that at all. So I stopped talking science, basically. I started to slowly pick up technology, and then they understood that, okay, she focused on something else, but she has the potential to learn computers and technology and will be helpful to the team because she comes in as an end user, right? So she's not someone who thinks like a traditional IT person. She's going to think as a user. And Amazon, especially given how much they focus on customer and doing the right thing for the customers, I think really played well for me. So I was able to leverage that I am an end user. I know what exactly your user wants. Let me help you. So that really worked for me. And I think that is something we all could leverage in our job search. Sophie, next slide, please. Right. Okay. Yeah. So next slide. In the interview process, right? So the interview process, normally in all major companies, you have two phone interviews and one on-site interviews. Back in the day when on-site interview was still a thing, we don't know when we'll go back to having on-site interviews, but that is a pretty typical interview setup. And one of the interviews is mostly storytelling, and they want to see how good of a human being you are and how much you can how what you have done and how you can communicate with folks that are not your colleagues, right? And that actually was the biggest challenge for me because I was told that the questions are going to be along the lines of how do you disagree to someone. And I took a step back and thought about it, and I thought to myself, and I said, I probably have never disagreed to my academic advisor. Whatever they said, I said, okay, sure. Right. So then I said, okay, this is not going to work for me. So I need to think outside the box. So then I thought of what other things I have done. So I started thinking about my teaching experience, right? My teaching experience, I did a lot of things for my students. So those students now became my customer in my stories. Another thing was all the volunteer activities I had done, all the leadership roles I had taken internally at the chemistry department and within UW. So all those stories, I actually wrote them down, tweaked them as needed, gave a lot of time and a lot of thought to prepare my stories so that I could reuse them in all my interviews.